Hey, I'm Caleb. This is the show. Um, I want to start off today talking about this album that I'm really digging right now. It's called Year of the Newt by an artist called Bobbing, Bobbing, like bobbing for apples, just dipping your head down there like that. Um, yeah, man, just really fun, catchy, kind of math rock, kind of pop. There's words to every song, all that good stuff. And it's just, yeah, wow. I've been really enjoying it. Secondly, there is this trend, whatever you want to call it, of a thing that's really popular on TikTok right now that is Samyang brand Baldock ramen. And I knew for a fact that there was a Asian supermarket here in town that had that brand because friend of the show Maddie has we've gone to that market before and she's picked up some of their ramen. Yeah, so I went there last night and I bought. Not only do they have some Baldock ramen, it seemed like they were pretty picked over because they're viral on TikTok at the moment, but they have an entire aisle of this supermarket is nothing but instant ramen, and a good section of it is Baldock stuff, Samyang. So I bought. What did I get? I got spicy cheesy chicken, which is the one that I tried last night. There's a video on my TikTok about it. JupiterSound.studio is where you can find. Oh, disrespectful burp. JupiterSound.studio is where you can find links and little icons and stuff to take you to all my stuff, YouTube, the Patreon. If you, for some reason, have still not signed up, it's all there. By the way, hey, let's just get this out of the way. $5 a month for the Patreon. Every episode is a little bit longer and largely unedited. You get to see me be a complete idiot beforehand and maybe some bonus thoughts afterwards. There's also a monthly bonus episode at this point. So Sam and I did that a couple days ago as I record this, and it should be up on the Patreon by now or will be soon. So yeah, $5 a month, and it just, helps me helps me do this, makes it a little bit easier. I'm having fun, whether or not you are in on the bonus stuff. I mean, you're just missing out. So yeah, if you want to be a part of Save It for the Show, that's the name of the after show, the bonus content. If you want to be part of Save It for the Show, go ahead and go to JupiterSound.studio and you'll find the link to my Patreon there. Peace and love. If you're watching this on YouTube, do the whole subscribe and like thing. Caress that little bell. Stealing that from Crystal Leah, I don't care. Because he doesn't care if I steal it. Whatever. Who cares? I cannot say enough about Ghost Energy. I don't know what it is, man. Coffee just I love coffee, but it's turning into a non-functional drink for me. And maybe that says a little bit about how much caffeine I partake in. Whatever. I am just as God made me, sir. So, rolling on with random topics. When is the last time? So, your phone. Your phone. I don't rock a case. I just don't. That's what the fucking Apple cares for. When is the last time you cleaned your phone? When's the last time you took the case off of it, got a little wipey out, whether you want to do, a little alcohol or even just a little damp cloth, and just wipe that sucker down? Because you know what? We are on these things all the time. And I bet you that joke in in Rick and Morty about getting pink eye because Summer won't stop texting on the toilet, it's probably not actually a joke. So, yeah. When's the last time you cleaned your phone? Do it. It's good for you. It's good for the phone. And also, you just get to, you get to see your beautiful, thin little iPhone. Like, just the naked robotic core of your iPhone. Why wouldn't you? That's all I have to say about that. Scooby-Doo. Anyways, Bobbing, the album Year of the Newt, that'll be in the show notes. Link to Ghost Energy for some reason will be in the show notes. And whatever else I talked about up until this point will be in the show notes. Jupiter Sound Out Studio, that link to my Patreon and all that will definitely be in the show notes. And if you are listening to this or watching this and you're like, what are show notes? Show notes are the description underneath, whether it's underneath the video here or if you're just listening in your podcast player. I've said this already on another episode, but as far as podcast players go, you need to get Overcast. If you're on iOS, and I don't know why you would be on anything but an iPhone. I'm going to be that guy. That's how I'm feeling today. I'm just feeling kind of punchy, huh? Can you tell? Feeling good. Sam and Evie and I went to this diner just a little bit ago. We just got back. It's Saturday. Had a little late brunch. I had this freaking omelet with sausage and onions and mushrooms inside and covered in sausage gravy, and then hash browns and cheese and onions, and I got some coffee there, just a little bit of coffee, but I've got this ghost kicking in behind it, and just y'all look out. This is going to be either really, really great or it's going to be terrible. So let's talk about some something a little more serious, I guess. Something that I've been thinking a lot about and that I'm excited to continue practicing is this idea of dropping the ball. Stop carrying things. I got to stop carrying things around for people who are not directly contributing to my well-being. And that doesn't end people, and also things or positions or just honor. I feel like I have to. There are so many things that I've said to my therapist that it's just I feel like I have to do this because I started it, or I feel like I have to because who else is gonna? And I've just come out of a season of finally ditching all of that stuff. Or most of it anyways, or trying to actively ditch that kind of stuff. Just taking a minute to think about that, to stop carrying around things for people who don't directly contribute to your well-being. So what does that look like in practice? Or what are some other examples? I mean, what are some direct examples of that? Comments about how I'm raising my child. As long as she is not physically in danger and I'm not teaching her directly terrible or evil things, the rest of it is all an opinion. And opinions, man, there are a lot of people who say a lot of things. And Sam and I were talking about that at breakfast today. Just I'm glad that I've started to already, before Evie gets even older, or maybe before our popularity increases a little bit more. You say what you want about us, I'm going to laugh it off. I don't really care. We were laughing about, this is what we were talking about at breakfast. We were laughing about a comment somebody left about around Thanksgiving. We were feeding Evie food with a fork. And somebody was like, you put that fork in the baby's mouth? And it's just yeah, it's a fork for humans. Humans use utensils to eat. Who cares? Why? I guess I just kind of wrap my head around commenting that on an internet stranger's video. Who cares? Yeah, they're feeding their baby. What? It's not like we're shoving the thing in her mouth, prying her mouth open with the fork, or she has learned at 9 months old, because she's smart as fuck because she's Sam's daughter and she's my daughter. She's smart as fuck. She figured out by 9 months or maybe even earlier how to eat off of a full-size fork. Are you commenting that because you're jealous? Kind of seems like it. This is when one of my coworkers are like, you're calm down, bro. You're calm down. I'm like, I'm not mad. I could be passionate about this. Think somebody's an idiot. Not mad. Not mad. But but that's what I mean. Stop carrying around these things for people who are not contributing to your well-being. You have to choose. You have to be consciously telling yourself to just let it go. The stuff that I've complained about, like writers and stuff with these artists and whatever, just like I can be upset about that and I can make my point, but there is no reason for me to be, it's January now. I should not still be upset about the last show in the middle of December and these dinglings who didn't have their rider together. And I'm not. A year ago, I probably still would have been. Now, obviously I'm using it as an example here to talk about, but I don't lay in bed at night and there's those fucking idiots and their rider. No, I made my point. I had fun with it here on the podcast. It's just kind of been added as, part of the repertoire now, but I'm not carrying that around, allowing it to take up space on my shoulders, on top of my head, in my head. I'm not carrying around this thing, this ball. I'm not carrying a ball for those guys and their rider anymore. That was that for that day. I've learned the lesson about it, dropped it, moved on, right? So just, and that kind of leads into something I heard Merlin say on an old episode of Roderick on the Line. I've been going back through and listening to old episodes of Roderick on the Line. Merlin, man, he'll never hear this. I don't care. Hello. Hi, Merlin. You and John both are just immensely impactful to me in ways that I cannot describe. And in fact, you're both kind of part of the reason that I'm even doing this show. So I hope you never hear this. But I'll have a clip. I'll have the actual clip from Roderick on the Line in the show notes for you to listen to. But Merlin was saying, he kind of ties it into mindfulness here, and it's almost like you're a professor and you have office hours, and your thoughts, policing your thoughts is kind of like being a professor and you have office hours. You don't get to pick what comes into your office and what they ask about when you're a professor, but you have to accept that and say well, hey, okay, here's where office hours begin, here's where they end, and whatever I'm going to think about in these times is fair game. But once we get to the end of office hours here, you have to go. You have to go away. And he even went on to say it's a similar thing to what I do when I'm falling asleep. And I say, okay, everybody, you go have your freak out time, run around. I'm just going to watch you run around. My anxious thoughts, my thoughts about the whole day. You just go do your thing. I'm going to watch you run around and do your thing, but it doesn't mean I have to chase you. It doesn't mean I have to ruminate on these thoughts. Oh, yep, there's that. Oh yeah, the rider stuff, or oh yeah, I've got that show in 10 days and I need to do something about it, or it has already been immensely powerful to me, but to just have that at the forefront of my mind. Everybody, okay, yeah, go ahead, have your freak out time, run around, think about these things, but I'm not going to latch onto you when I don't have to. I'm not going to chase you. Even doves have pride. I love that. Even doves have pride. I mean, think about it. I don't know why I default to saying things like that. I mean, think about it, Hey, I mean, here's the problem. Something that I've been taking with that and kind of practicing is also I'm dropping the ball, and even saying this out loud is another form of me just letting this go. I'm working on overcoming some fear and anxiety and especially shame that I have around being creative. And I think it stems from just a lack of interest from those around me in the things that I was interested when I was younger and coming up. And like, and maybe it was like like I didn't really explain it correctly, or was like just, too focused on the wrong parts of the things that I found cool, or, just like the people around me just didn't have the capacity to be geeked about the same things that I continue to be geeked about to this day. But the music part, I've definitely experienced my fair share of like very public, cringy things as a performer. Ideas that I've ripped off of other artists and I wanted to do in a live show. This comes to mind like shortly. I think I might have even still been in high school. It might have been my senior year of high school. This local church put on this like big, I don't know, big, whatever. They put on this like music night where, the local bands, and usually it was just like there were like 3-4 bands from the youth group or whatever, would come and play. And it was like supposed to be a battle of the bands, but also like, I don't know. And I remember the lead up to this being very, very stressful. I had kind of had a band together of a couple friends and one of my brothers, and like there had been definitely a lot of like yelling and shouting at the rehearsals and trying to learn these songs, and like, which is funny to me to think about now that even even a senior in high school or shortly after, when I wasn't really like a super competent musician at that point, I still like, I heard things in my head, I could hear things on a record, or like I knew how they had to sound, and I didn't understand how people couldn't be as competent as me in understanding that and in pulling it off, which is, I mean, that's still something I'm trying to get around the corner on some things. Like I just can't understand how people can't think a certain way about certain things, but that's a whole other episode. But so for here, like creating stuff. So so we've got this like, what the heck did they call it? This event? It was called like Hollapalooza. Yes. Okay. So I'm from a suburb of Chicago, like north of Chicago, an hour, which is like 30-ish minutes then from the Wisconsin border. It's the town where they filmed the movie Groundhog Day, Bill Murray. That's where I'm from. The movie theater, the courthouse, everything, like that whole, like the bed and breakfast that he stayed in. Like my parents and I lived in a little apartment that is in a couple of shots in that movie, just like right next to that place. And like, anyways, so I grew up in this really small town outside of Chicago, and Chicago has a music festival called Lollapalooza, and this was a church thing. And so I definitely did not come up with the name of it, but it was called Hollapalooza, which I don't think it was definitely not the Assembly of God Church. I'm trying to remember what denomination church it even was, because it definitely had a denomination, but like how evangelical, right? Hollapalooza. I love that so much. That's so funny. And at that point, I was still really into that whole world, and like still really into and thought like Christian music, pop Christian music, like the Newsboys and Audio Adrenaline and stuff like that were still good. Now we could talk about Audio Adrenaline because they still got some stuff that like stands up today, in my opinion. But the Newsboys, whatever. Anyways, I had seen them before Hollapalooza here. I'd seen them in concert somewhere very recently to that, and they had this crazy like intro for the show, and it was using a remix of one of their songs, and I'm like a remix from an album, and I have that album, and like my whole life, I like, not my whole life, but like, so once I started making music and playing in bands, um, and started seeing shows and watching concert films and stuff, the the visual appeal was something that was always very important to me and something that I paid attention to right away. And I think it was something that I enjoyed about growing up in a mega church as well, was that there was lights. There was haze. Not too much. That kind of started right around the time that I got out, I think. But like, there were lights, there was a production value, there were expensive pieces of equipment being used, and like it all sounded good and that kind of stuff. So like, I don't know. I basically for this event, Hollapalooza, tried to using the Baptist the like baptism area with the cutout in the wall that was like behind the stage kind of thing, put a sheet over it, and like basically tried to rip off the Newsboys intro. Using the same remix. I had my like girlfriend at the time like trigger it on my MacBook, and like I'd kind of like cut the song up in Reason and like had it queued up ready to go. She just had to like hit a button for us, and like it was it was a really great idea, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I bet it looked really fucking stupid and sounded even more terrible because there is no way the dude that was running sound that night made it sound good at all. Even once we actually got on stage and started playing stuff, I guarantee you, one, that we did not play as good as I know that we did not play as good as we could have. Anyone, but also just like, anyways, total fail. I'm not upset about it. I just, it is what it is. I'm a young musician. But experiences like that have definitely, and then like reaction from family members, reaction from friends, and then just in general, not having the ability to emotionally regulate, blah, 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 all these things, all these layers have created fear and shame and anxiety around being creative. And especially around being creative where someone else can hear me doing it. Like right now, my wife can most likely, if she isn't, I don't know where she is, but like if she's just upstairs right now, she could probably hear what I'm saying. And that, while it's still like even right now makes my stomach a little bit, it's almost just like a little bit of stage fright. It's the same kind of like tenseness in my stomach when I think about the fact that there's somebody watching this right now, but like it's not live, right? That's a little bit around it, but like especially when I'm making music, I'm like petrified of being judged and then later on made fun of for maybe making something that doesn't sound good or making something that doesn't look good the first time, or like it's like I'm ashamed of having to go through the creative process to get to something. I'm ashamed to have to fail to get to something good, even though I know I can get to something good. For whatever reason that is, for whatever fun little cocktail combo of reasons, one little cocktail combo of, shit that my family did to me and decisions that I've made and ways that I've messed up and ways that like ADHD has held me back, and just that whole fucked up cocktail like has led me to here. I don't think I'd change any of it except for maybe like put me on some meds at some point, Judas Priest. But like, so what I've been doing lately, this podcast is an active exercise in overcoming that fear, shame, and anxiety. And I'm continually telling myself, I don't care if there are only 2 people that listen to this. And if fuck, Kara is the only person that ever pays for the Patreon, like, thank you, by the way, you're number 1 forever. Just like, I don't care. This is just me finally doing the damn thing, because I've been hiding and afraid of it for so long. And I also was like hiding behind, I had someone in my life that like we wanted to do all this exact same stuff. We wanted to do it together. And he and I were in school, like we met in college, and like had the dream of doing this exact damn thing, but from my side of the story, they never put in the same amount of work and effort that I was to be able to get here. And they just wanted to ride the coattails. And we never had that conversation out loud. And thankfully, honestly, like I was not in a place to deal with it. I'd have the conversation now, especially being as healed as I am from over the past year. But like, they didn't want to do the work. I don't know if they have the talent. I don't know if I have the talent, but I'm at least putting the work in. And I think where I stand 10 years on and where they stand 10 years on, because we've both kind of been, we have been both been going after the same thing for 10 years. I think the effort shows. And I'm not saying that to dog on them or to be like, yeah, look at me. What I am saying though is that relationship and that inability to talk about those things and the feeling inside of me of like, well, yeah, but I love him and I want to do this with him because I think this person's cool. Like, whatever, like, responsibility I felt to that relationship needed to die. And me doing this stuff now is me finally saying, like, I am taking my own destiny into my own hands finally. I wish you were here doing this stuff with me, but like when I stopped worrying about it and when I started doing it for me, the movement started happening exponentially. The growth started happening exponentially, faster than I could control in some ways. What do you want me to do about that? You don't get to just like come with if you're not contributing. So, Super Train's coming. Are you going to be ready for it? Get on or get run over. Keep moving and get out of the way. Ooh. I told you, I feel good, man. Let's fucking go. So I want to talk about let's talk about some other stuff. Let's do some more. Ka-chow, ka-chow, transition, ka-chow, ka-chow. The eels. What are the eels? Like, what I want to talk about the eels, man. Like, I am experiencing them every single day in new ways. And so, what do I mean by the eels? The eels are like these things that just come up and glom on, and like you like have to, and just like slowly tangle you up, and like, but they're necessary. The eels are things that come up as you take on new projects and commitments. Like, just what do I have time for? And what do I actually really actually have time for? Being creative with this kind of stuff has eels. No matter how many barriers I get out of my way, no matter how many things that are stopping me from being creative, I get out of the way. There's still time that I have to spend editing this. There's still time I have to wait for my little MacBook Air to bounce and export all of it because I'm saving up for another MacBook Pro. And like, there's still, there's still things that make this take time. There are still eels. There's still like, was this phone charged and ready to go? And I had, at least still move this tripod over here and like sit down for a few minutes and like take some notes and figure out what I want to say. And that's why I had to start this episode 4 times because I didn't have my notes ready. I didn't have my thoughts organized, and I'm way too disorganized up here to be able to actually do this by the seat of my pants like I want to right now. I wish that I could just sit down and go. I like in all sense of the words, technology wise, but also like what's coming out of my mouth wise. I wish that I could just sit down and go. But when it's just me, I find I am finding out and learning that that is a talent that I don't have yet. But I'm pretty sure I can grow into it because it's just another form of performing, and I think I'm decent at it. And this is something though, but like honestly, I was just thinking about it, like in between, like when I play shows in any band that I've ever been a part of. I struggle with what to say in between songs. Why do I feel like I need to say anything in between songs to begin with is one thing to discuss, but like, I don't know. This is just an exercise. This is just an exercise. This podcast is an exercise in me saying, I'm doing it and I'm doing it for me. And it's just for me. The other thing that has a bunch of eels attached to it, but I'm just going to do it for me and I'm going to make it work. And it's going to I will figure out what I have to sacrifice in order to make this work. But something along the lines of like this podcast that I've wanted to do forever and ever and ever. I've wanted to, like, the end goal here is to have Jupiter Sound turn into a full-time gig for me where I'm doing live event kind of stuff, maybe doing a little bit of touring. My wife doesn't watch this. And also a like recording. That's what this room is for. That's what this space is for. It's what the foam on the wall is for. The little things. There's a drum set stacked up over here. Like there are dreams and ideas in my head that I want Jupiter Sound to be the full-time thing. So in the meantime, I don't have time to like sit around and try and convince people to come to my studio. Hey, just come on in, man, come on. Like, you gotta have something to show people. And I don't really have anything that I'm proud to show anybody. But this is where the fun starts. This is where that comes back in, man. Like, I spent the last 10 years working myself to a place where now I can put out product and I can put it out relatively easy. So the next step in my plan for world domination with Jupiter Sound, the first step was establish it and even just kind of get it going. And that's still happening. We're still in I'm definitely still in phase 1 with Jupiter Sound. St. Cecilia is just about my only big consistent customer right now. And God bless Kathy. I want to work with you forever until we're both dead. For as much as a headache as doing this stuff can be, it is such a joy to do it with you and with Carla and with everybody at St. Cecilia. So, but like, figuring that out and kind of I'm not even good at it yet, but like there's a little bit of a routine being formed. So that gives me, that makes me feel like I've got this space now to, and now that the basement is finished and we're moving into it, like I feel like now I need to put out content that is going to, instead of me having to convince people to, well, I've been doing for blah, 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 you got to have something you can show people. This podcast is something that I can show people. Hey, I can put out a show for you that looks and sounds pretty freaking decent. I'm working on it, and hopefully you should be seeing a visual and maybe even hearing an audible improvement from episode 1 to now even. Because I will be straight up front and say that I did not go to school for video and I didn't even finish school for audio. Like I'm very, 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 very comfortable with audio. Video, I am definitely still like sophomore, junior in college level, maybe kind of skill wise, or at least like competency wise. So I'm just figuring this out as I go, literally building the ship as I sail it. That's the only way I know how to do this kind of stuff. You're going to need a bigger boat, boys. You're in trouble. With phase 2 here of Jupiter Sound, I have this podcast that is something I can show somebody, and I need music that I can show somebody. To be able to just be like, hey, look, I made this. Why don't you, like, come on. Like, let's work together on whether it's something you know is already done and you just need a place to record it, or you want to do a little bit of like work on it together, whatever it is, I'm down. So, and I've talked though about how like songwriting itself, the like being an original songwriter is not one of my, it's not one of my strong suits at all. At least not at the present time, right? Sorry, I'm just kind of noticing. Hey, welcome. Here 30 minutes, 35, 7 minutes into the podcast, whatever. I had studio light on the camera. It's an iPhone feature, and it wasn't cutting it right now. I think it's a little too bright outside, but whatever. As I'm talking about how I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with video. Here we are. Here's a perfect example. But 2024, I'm not a super great songwriter, but I want to start working with people, and I think I can. I'm really good at filling in the blanks, and I'm good at mixing. I'm good at that kind of stuff. So I'd love to take a crack at working with more people. But I need to be able to show people that. And I've said this 6 times now. Just land the plane already, Caleb. I'm making a cover album in 2024, and I'm putting all my friends on it. Anybody that wants to. I don't have any money to pay anybody. This is for fun and to maybe help me grow my business a little bit. And it is kind of like, well, you're doing it for exposure, but like, I'm making some music in my basement, and I'm going to ask all my friends to be on it. So yeah. Here, I'll lay it all out. This is what I'm thinking. This is totally just like off the dome. I've got a note going on my phone that I've been like dumping stuff in as I think about it. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of these songs. 4 of these songs are already started in some fashion. So, and one of them is like, I will be putting out as soon as possible. So in no particular order, some of these may not even make it, but here's what I'm thinking. Again, I'm self-producing a cover album, and just to be able to say, hey, here's some music I made. Here's the music I produced. So we're doing I Love You Always Forever, Donna Smith, right? One Headlight by the Wallflowers. We've got Back Pocket by Wolfpack, Empire Ants by Gorillaz, Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot, Back in Black by AC/DC, Pork and Beans by Weezer, It Even Rains in LA by Laney, One Thing at a Time by Mr. Morgan Wallen, and Discipline by Nine Inch Nails. Interrupt whatever I was talking about to have Evie say hi. Do you have anything to say? You just woke up from a nap? Yeah. You got boogie nose? Little snot bubble. You see that keyboard there? Yeah.
You got boogers.
How was your nap?
We give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. I took the pin away. I did. Do you want to say anything? No? Just fondle the microphone?
ASMR, Dad. What the kids like.
Yeah.
Evie? Hello? I would just like everyone to know. I pooped. You
I love you. And I really think I'm going to end up putting a song by the Midnight on there too. I can't believe I haven't done that yet. I might as well do that right now. Shoot. It's probably going to end up being Sunset by the Midnight. Faked our deaths, lit a match, close the door. Except for that one, I want to do like as a country song because it is a country song. It's totally like totally 80s synth pop, but it's a country song. And I can hear it as a country song in my head. So maybe I'll have to do that. I think that's gonna okay. Sunset country version. And then we do one thing at a time, 80s stream pop version. Haha. Ha 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 ha. I'm scheming. This is my scheming face. Man. Speaking of music, I like yeah, so to wrap up on the whole cover album thing, that I don't know. I hopefully I can have it done by December. It's January. We'll see. Got 4 done, 8 more to go. Right? I don't know. 6 more to go. 7 more to go. I'm excited to see where this goes and how far I actually get. And I'm really excited to see who says yes to this because if everybody says yes, who I am planning on asking, it's going to be a ruckus. Speaking of music, last little bit for today. Do you ever have just like random, like you'll hear, I'm sure, okay, do you ever have, you hear a song, you smell a smell, you see a car, you drive past a place, and it's just this like visceral, random flashback to some point in your youth. For me, those are usually triggered by music, especially because I don't live in my hometown or anywhere near. Like, I don't, like, there were definitely some times driving around my old neighborhood and the places I used to drive around that were just a kind of a little even triggering for me, I guess. But like, yeah. So friend of the show, Zach Goins, sent me this TikTok of these guys messing around with like talking about how dope music from 2008 was. And it was just a whole bunch of bangers. And so that was yesterday morning. And so while Evie and I were like in her playroom, first thing in the morning, hanging out, I had just seen that TikTok and I turned on the 2008 alternative hits playlist on Apple Music and just had like, I mean, one, really great memories. It was super fun to listen to some of that stuff. I'm going to pull it up real quick just to name off some songs because it's, that was a good year. It was a good year. It's funny to be looking back on this kind of stuff as like, oh yeah, man, 2008, that was yesterday. No, sir. But just like, man, there's some good stuff. Yeah, back in the day, back when we used to listen to 9 Inch Nails. So alternative hits 2008, Kids by MGMT, Paper Planes, Sex on Fire, Viva La Vida. Man, just Florence and the Machine, Dog Days Are Over, Shut Up and Let Me Go. You got Fleet Foxes in here, Panic at the Disco, 9 in the Afternoon, just like Death Cab for Cutie, I Will Possess Your Heart, Flowbots, I Can Ride My Bike with No Handlebars. I could end the world in a Holocaust. I wonder how he feels about that lyric now. In a Holocaust. In a Holocaust. I could play a song with no metronome. No metronome. Anyways, but just like some of these songs, though, a couple of them came on and it was just like, oh, holy like, I used to listen to this song with this person. That's always fun, isn't it? I can run on my own anymore. No anymore. Thank you for listening. Patreon, my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everything is at jupitersound.studio. Until the next time, this is the show.